Okay, good morning and afternoon for all of you, depending on which part of the world you are joining us today. It's a great pleasure for us to have all of you here today joining us on this webinar on co-parenting and fertility. My name is Kaisa Malinen and I come from Jyväskylä, Finland, and I work here as a principal researcher at Young University of Applied Sciences. And I have been one of the leaders of the COPA project, on which the webinar of today is based on. I will shortly introduce you the themes of the webinar and the COPA project. And today we will have 5 presentations related to co-parenting, that is collaboration between the parents who are having their first child, and also on their decisions to have another children in their family. We will have a short break in the middle, and we will end with a panel discussion reflecting the discussions or the presentations of today. And I will start by shortly explaining what we mean when we talk about co-parenting or raising the child together. So, co-parenting refers to all those ways in which parents or other parental figures work together as parents. So instead of individual ways of acting as a parent, we refer here to collaboration and interaction of all those adults who are around the child and raising the child. Co-parenting starts to develop even before the child is born. For example, parents may start talking about how they will raise the child. They may start talking about how they share their parental leaves and so on. And this is the time period or family phase that we have been focusing on in our study, from the birth of the child till the first months or years of the child. And as I said, that co-parenting involves parents or other parental figures, and by this I mean that co-parenting is relevant in all family forms. Those parents or those adults who are around the child, they might be biological parents, or they might be, for example, step-parents or foster parents. And in many cultural contexts, also other adults than parents are relevant in raising the child, for example, grandparents. And the figure in the picture illustrates different parts of co-parenting. And maybe the clearest or easiest to explain part is this division of labor. Part of co-parenting is the way in which childcare tasks are shared between the parents, who does what related to the child. Also, co-parenting refers to the ways parents find agreement on issues related to the child, whether they agree or disagree or find agreement on issues related to the child. It also refers to ways in which parents manage family dynamics. This means, for example, what kind of discussions are discussed while the child is around, and what are discussions that are only for the adults. This is one example. Co-parenting also means closeness. What kind of, how close parents or other parental figures feel related to each other. And also support versus undermining, whether parents act in a supporting way or in undermining way in relation to each other's way of being a parent. Becoming a parent today happens in a complex world marked by insecurity and change. Parents face high expectations, intensive parenting culture, and challenges in balancing work, family, and personal life. At the same time, fertility rates are decreasing in many countries, including the ones that we have been focusing on. It has been shown by extensive research that when co-parenting or the collaboration between the parents works well in families, it buffers against various stress factors. This means that even though there may be stress in the life of families, they are still doing well if the parents find ways to collaborate. Well-functioning co-parenting also supports individual way of being a parent, couples' mutual relationship, their couple relationship, and child well-being. For example, in terms of mental well-being of the child and her or his school achievement. As said in this webinar and in the Copa study, on which the presentations are based on, we focus on the 3 countries, said here, Finland, Japan, and Portugal. While families in these countries face similar challenges, the cultural context also greatly influences how these parents experience their family life. For example, the availability of institutional support varies between the countries in terms of, for example, what kind of parental leaves and what kind of childcare services are available for the families. Work and care regimes of the countries also vary, and also what the values that are related to being a mother or being a father are different between the cultural contexts and between the countries. Parenting and work cultures are different. For example, how much encouragement parents are given to invest in parenting and work. And also the values, individualistic and collectivistic values of the cultural contexts are different. And this means that these individual and collectivistic values refer to the fact whether individual goals or well-being of the family are prioritized in these cultural contexts. And then if we take a look at the countries that we are focusing on, and these infographics show some general trends relevant for couples who are becoming parents. And let's start with Finland, the country with the, of these 3 countries, the country with the smallest population and located in Northern Europe. In Finland, there is a great emphasis on gender equality and quite generous, comparatively generous parental leaves and high-quality services for families. Japan has clearly the highest population of these 3 countries, and Japan is characterized by demanding working life that creates a context for the family life. In Japan, mothers are largely responsible for childcare, and at the same time, increasing number of dual families is in Japan. And Portugal, located in Southern Europe, in Portugal, grandparents are seen as often as participants in co-parental relationships. Fathers are now given more time on parental leave than before, but still women are expected to provide more care than men. And let's continue with the same theme with a different figure. And again, about Finland. Finland shows characteristics of the Nordic welfare state, offering strong institutional support for parents, and Finland puts emphasis on dual earner or dual carer model, in which both parents, both mothers and fathers are involved both in working life and in family life or parenthood. Perhaps a bit paradoxically, Finnish culture at the same time still emphasizes mother-centeredness in parenting. As I said, in Japan, work-family culture is defined by demanding work culture and working life, and quite traditional gender roles. Portugal, for its part, is undergoing a shift in how work and family responsibilities are balanced. While traditional roles and mother-centeredness remain strong, there is growing institutional support and cultural movement towards shared caregiving. And if we look at the individualistic and collectivistic values, Finland is highest of these three countries in individualistic values and lowest in collectivistic values. Japan is located in the middle in both these values, and Portugal, for its part, is lowest in individualistic values and highest in collectivistic values. And then some words. Sorry, can you hear me?
Your voice disappeared, but now it's came again.
Okay, good. Good to hear. Then some words about the Copa Global project, in which the presenters of today, we have been working together for many years to understand what it means to become a parent in these three countries. Our focus has been on three levels. And if we start from the middle part, we have been interested in what happens in the families. For example, how family life is experienced by parents, how childcare tasks are divided or shared, what kind of conflict there happens between those new parents who are having their first child. We have also been interested on the community level, what kind of family services there are and the families use, what kind of social networks they have, and what's the role of social networks in family life. And on the cultural level also, we have been interested in institutional support, work care regimes, work family or parenting cultures and values, for example. As I mentioned, we have focused on a life phase where couples are having their first child. Our study was conducted during the COVID pandemics, as the babies whose life or whose families' life we have been following were born in 2020. We followed the couples from late pregnancy till the child was about 1.5 years old. We interviewed the couples 2 times, and we also collected survey or questionnaire data from them many times during the study. In Finland, we also had some additional data collected from couples via mobile diaries and also from family professionals by interviewing them and from parental online education events. What should be noted is that these couples that we followed were relatively highly educated, and they came from urban areas. And to take part in the study, they also had to be able to communicate in Finnish, Japanese, or Portuguese language, which left some couples, of course, out from the study. And this should be noted while listening our presentations.
Now you have 1 minute.
Okay, and I'm ready to end. So, welcome again for all of you to the webinar, and I hope that you enjoy the event and that it leads to new thoughts and perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaisa Malinen. And next, Dr. Anna Rönkä from the University of Jyväskylä and Chino Yabunaga from Toyo University will talk about the role of caring adults in co-parenting.
Thank you, Nina. Konnichiwa. Hello, everybody. I'm Anna Rönkä, and my colleague Chino Yabunaga we are having this presentation together, and Chino will change the slides. And today we are talking about our preliminary findings concerning what kind of co-parenting relations Finnish and Japanese mothers have in their life. And our results are based on the Copa data. So please, Chino, you can take. Recently, the focus in co-parenting research has widened from co-parenting between the couple to co-parenting also with other caring adults, such as grandparents. And in this presentation, we take that kind of bigger picture to co-parenting. And terms such as intergenerational co-parenting has been used to denote how grandparents are involved in child rearing. Intergenerational co-parenting consists of quite similar aspects than co-parenting between the couple, but it also has some other elements such as boundaries and power and intergenerational value transmission. Positive intergenerational co-parenting has many benefits for families when it works well. But in cases, if there are some like conflicts or too much control, it can be also harmful.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Now let me talk about social support theory briefly. As Anna mentioned, the baby's grandparents engaged parenting in greater or less degree. Particularly in the society with Eastern culture, we found the cases that should be better to count grandparents as co-parents. This involvement of grandparents can be understood with social support theory and configuration of informal actors in the social network, which provide support. According to Tyler and other researchers, explain only the perceived experience of receiving support can function both positively and negatively. Regarding the configuration of social network, where social support is provided and received, this configuration covers partner, relatives, friends, co-workers, social and community ties, social media, and even from the pets. The literature on social support indicates that there are 4 types of support: emotional, appraisal, informational, and practical. Regarding emotional support, it provides empathy, concern, trust, and so forth. Findings from the qualitative study by Podkolinski indicated that it was very important to new mothers, particularly when provided by the baby's father. Appraisal support, also referred to as evaluative support, may be derived from affirmation, feedback, and social comparison. This dimension is crucial in developing or enhancing individual self-esteem and self-confidence because it enables people to cope with stress throughout their life. This is of particular importance to first-time mothers in the postpartum period. Barkley and others indicated that first-time mothers found it helpful to share their experiences with other mothers in similar situations. This allowed them to share their sense of incompetence and feel that it was acceptable in their situation. In terms of informational support, information, advice, and so forth, Kronvennevet suggests that it assists individuals in decision-making process and thus enables them to help themselves. Practical support directly helps the person in need, such as financial aid, time, and labor. This is sometimes called instrumental support or physical support or aid, and it means hands-on help. New mothers have emphasized the importance of having someone to help with childcare or household chores. House argues that no one type of social support should be considered more important than another. Just as the relevance of sources of support varies with an individual and problem requiring support, so would the relevance of different types of support. So social support is crucial for new mothers as research indicated. Let me add, for example, Chan and Dong shows that lack of support is strongly associated with loneliness. Gebhardt and others shows social support alleviate mothers' stress and exhaustion. In addition, appraisal support cultivate their self-esteem and confidence. Okay, so let's now understand, please.
Okay, thank you. In intergenerational co-parenting and social support, cultural values also make a key difference. In collectivist countries, co-parenting is often supplemented with other caring adults, whereas in individualist countries, other caregiving adults are only loosely connected to the parental team. And the role of family obligations and family traditions may also play a smaller role in more individualistic countries. And as we heard from Kaisa just a minute ago, Finland is more individualistic and less collectivist country if we compare it to Japan. And by the way, Portugal is however highest in collectivist and lowest in individualist countries. But Chino, please, you can change the slide. So in this study, our research questions were to investigate what kind of support to parenting and from whom do mothers in Finland and Japan receive from the social network, and how do mothers experience such support. We concentrate on the larger network, but we are also recognizing in this presentation the support coming from the partner. The second research question, the key question here is, are there cultural differences between the two countries in the significance of other caring adults in parenting? And as I told, these are only preliminary results, and we are currently working with this material to write a scientific paper. So we will go more deeply to this issue. Okay, please, we can continue. So to the preliminary findings, and first to the configurations of co-parenting. So which are the sources of social support in these two countries among mothers? So in both countries, the most significant sources of support were quite similar. So the partner is very important, but also mothers, parents, partners' parents, friends, and also mother's siblings. However, it seems that in Japan, the social support from the network is more intensive than in Finland. Finnish mothers quite often said that although there were people around, it was difficult for them to ask. We found that in both countries, social media channels played quite important role, but interestingly, in Japan, co-workers were also quite often mentioned. And then this Satogari tradition, which Chino will explain a little bit later. We can move on.
Okay, thank you. So Satogari is some home visit, and after during the postpartum period, sometimes the mothers stay at their biological birth parents' home for 1 month or 2 months or more. And we found that still now, half of the participants stayed at their parents' home after their birth. Anyway, so let me explain about the emotional support. So here, the emotional support that mothers perceived. In both countries, partner is the main source of emotional support. And in Finland, emotional support from friends were perceived also important. On the other hand, in Japan, mother's biological mother were often stated as important source of emotional support. So here, here are some examples of what mothers stated. But however, unfortunately, because of the time limitation, let us skip to introduce them. So now let me explain about the next one, appraisal support. Here are the features of appraisal support in 2 countries we heard. In Finland, appraisal support was seldomly mentioned, and they refer to receiving negative comments from others. These gave mothers pressures and too much high expectations. On the other hand, Japanese mothers sometimes felt assurance by comparing others and having found the same as others. So it means that other mothers make some failure, and then, oh, that's the same. I usually made failure, so yeah, I'm not so inferior. In addition, however, a stay-at-home mother stated her inferiority because she is the stay-at-home mom, so she believed herself she should have been perfect. So here is also the citation of the mother said during the interview. So next one is informational support. Here are mother's perception related to informational support. The source of information support were from various actors surrounding mother in both countries. This informational support and appraisal support show both positive and negative side in both countries. Among them, it was introduced mothers in Japan received negative comment based on traditional and conservative notion which denying dual work arrangement, and it's a kind of modern work style prevalent in younger generation. So this is some examples that we heard from mothers regarding informational support. Okay, so the last one, practical support. When it comes to the practical support, also the grandparents, mother's parents, were the main source of support, and other actors were also mentioned as support resources. And we can find contrast between 2 countries here. Japanese mothers often received intensive support from mother's mother or parents through such as satogaeri, as I mentioned beforehand. However, in contrast, the Finnish mothers suffered from the lack of support because sometimes they couldn't ask for help. So here are the examples. Okay, so next we discuss the barriers for receiving support. So could you, Anna?
Yes, thank you. So about the barriers or negative experiences. So we found that sometimes the support was experienced as like unsuitable or even like a wrong way to offer support. And especially in Finland, the long distances between parents and relatives, that's really the barrier. And we also found this negative comparison, and for example, in social media, very, very common. And then the high threshold to ask help. And you can see also some citations here. but maybe we go next to the conclusions, starting from Finland. So it seems that the support received from the partner is much stronger than support received from social network. This is the Finnish case. So families even looked like an introverted islands in which mothers turned to their partner for support, but didn't get support from outside. And that might be the challenge in this Finnish culture. The good side is that the strong relationship between the couple, so that fathers are much involved, but families are like alone in the country. We, however, found, and this is also what, for example, our researcher Inka-Liisa Kuusiaho has found, that there is much variation in social support received. Some get a lot of support, some suffer from lack of it. And actually, Inka-Liisa Kuusiaho has found that even 50% of Finnish participants felt that they didn't get enough support. And the support was not only experienced as positive, so sometimes it's insufficient or in unsuitable form. And especially the support from grandparents was experienced as ambivalent. Although mothers wished for some guidance, however, advice is given in a controlling way where experienced as negative and burdening. And please, Chino, you can conclude what is the situation in Japan.
Thank you, Anna. So let me summarize the situation in Japan that we found in this research project. So the support provided by the partner was found to be the key factor in the success of co-parenting, of course, and we found that especially emotional support and also other support, the partner was support well to their partner. However, the mother's own mother played a crucial role, and they provided extensive support. Satogaeri, or the birth mother's stay at the new family, typically for 1 month during the postpartum period, was recognized as a valuable support resource and remains prevalent, as I mentioned before. Yeah, here, if the mother who just after their bearing should stay at home, their own home, and it cannot be possible in the case they couldn't stay at their parents' home, their mother, usually biological mother, came to their home and stay with new family with new baby. So such kind of way, the Japanese parents experienced receiving intensive support from their birth parents. And half of the participants experienced in this study. Anyway, yeah. So the next one, the third one, affirmation from partners. And also it is interesting that their willingness to participate in child care were viewed positively. However, it means that mother's strong sense of agency. So mothers felt or thought that they are a main primary agency of child care, so that when they found the willingness to participate from their partner, they feel that, oh, that's good. So it is not, we can find the not equal relationship between couple. Okay, so the next one, the fourth point is we still find advice or opinions regarding work style or division of labor that against gender equality. They were often given from distant relatives. they were perceived negatively by mothers as unwelcome interferences. Also, as Anna mentioned, the workplace was identified as a significant source of support along with friends and neighbors.
And now you have 4 minutes.
Okay, so it is the last slide. We should explain. Okay, so here is the conclusions of us. We would like to refer to cultural differences. So we can say that socio-cultural context, such as gender regime, work-life culture, and values, is associated with mothers' experiences of co-parenting and social support. The Finnish context promotes co-parental collaboration, but leaves mother and family often alone. The Japanese context does not promote co-parental collaboration. It lacks emphasis on co-parental collaboration. However, informal resources from such as from their birth parents were utilized extensively still, and intensive support was often provided informally. So not formal spheres, but informally, it substitute the lack or shortage of support surrounding a new family. So here are key references, and thank you very much for listening.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much for an interesting talk. And I think we would have time for one more short question from the audience.
Yes.
Right.
And while we are waiting for if somebody is asking, I can explain that I think that next, Chino and me, we are going to go to the nuances behind all these types of social support in these two countries, because I think that there are different nuances in each of them.
Yeah, we found that during our discussion that the word of support has many meaning, and so we should read the lines between lines, and sometimes the Japanese parents or Japanese people think that or feels that support is receiving some aid from others. But I think that in the context in Finland, it is a little bit different.
But however, I think that we don't say that we get practical support from partner. We say that we ask emotional support and receive it. But I think that practical support is self-evident. That we don't think that we need to ask it. It's self-evident. But I think that we have quite much talk about that kind of emotional support. But this appraisal support, we might have one question.
Yes.
Yes. Hello. Hi. I did join a bit late, so I must have missed some key information. But my question is, from your findings, could you
Sorry, I
find
can't hear
any
you.
similarity? Could you find any similarity between, like for example, with the collectivistic culture in Japan, could you cluster similar findings with other collectivistic cultures? Similarly, with Finland, with other individual, could you cluster the findings specific to the cultures? Is there any similarity with other collectivistic cultures, other individualistic cultures?
Very good question. I think that there are, and now when we are like going to write the article, of course we have to compare our findings to those made in other countries, other individualistic, other collectivist countries, and I think that Japan is not. It's like in the middle in collectivism, and maybe the Japanese collectivism can be a little bit different from some other country. And I think that the whole, like the profile of the country is important. So not only the collectivism or individualism, there are also other aspects. Chino, would you like to add something?
No, that just time is coming, sorry.
Yeah, time is coming.
Yeah.
Very good question. Thank you for that.
Yeah, but we can read about the nuances in the future from your paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank
And
you.
now we need to move forward. Next, Dr. Daisuke Ito from Toyo University will speak about parental leave and effective communication in Japanese couples parenting.
Sure, thank you so much and welcome everyone. Okay, so let's get going. This is today's outline. Let me first show you, I will go through that how I start doing this qualitative research, and I will show you the preliminary results at the end of today's talk. Right. So first, I'm gonna show you wife's compliance, and then the forwards. Okay. So let's get going. The time is limited. Okay. So first, we collected surveys from couples, and we had a section that if you want to send some messages to your partner, you're welcome to do so. Our intention was to make newsletters with positive messages from wives to their husbands and husbands to their wives. And I was looking forward to these messages, and I started reading, and I was kind of surprised because about 1/4 to 1/5 of the messages were quite negative. Let's take a look at the one on the left bottom. This is a message from a wife to her husband. I want us to have proper discussions. I want you to acknowledge me as your wife and as a mother. Please don't criticize me, belittle me, or dismiss me. I want you to face me properly. Be kinder, listen to my opinions, become a more pleasant person to be around. And all the ones in pink are quite negative. And surprisingly, the ones in blue are the messages from those husbands. Those means, these are the wives and these are their husbands. So one didn't respond, but the husband seems to be no clue. They say every day is full of challenges, but thank you for always taking parenting seriously. It really helps. I'll help out as much as I can too. Let's keep doing our best together. So it seems wives have so much complaints, but the husbands haven't gotten that well. Okay, another survey section from the same survey. What we did was to ask if housework, childcare, and everything you do is 100% in the household. What percentage is done by the wives and what percentage is done by the husbands? And we asked that question to husbands and wives. So we can see if their answers match or some discrepancies. Let's take a look at the left-hand table. This is husband, housework, or childcare time. The top cell is fine. What we did was husband's response minus wife's response. So if husband says, I do 20% of the entire house, housework and childcare, and if the wife says, my husband does 30%, then it's between the range of -10 and +10. And I said that's pretty much equivalent. And approximately 2/3 of the answers are matched. The second one, husband said, I do 20%, but the wife said, no, he does 40%. So the difference is negatively bigger. And that is relatively a good estimate because husbands think they don't do enough, but the wives think her husbands or their husbands do a lot. The last one seems to be the most troublesome. The husbands overestimate their time or contribution to housework and childcare. And those couples are approximately about 20%. So from this type of result, the quotes and then the survey results, I was interested in what characteristics do couples share when their co-parenting practices are successful. And I thought I can find what makes them successful co-parenting couples. And soon after I start reading the quotes, I had a lot of trouble. And that was the word successful. It's very challenging to determine what is actually considered successful. Some people say we are successful, but as I read, it wasn't like, they are that successful compared to others. So I had a hard time to define success, and I changed or modified my research question. And the next one, which is in red, is the one. What characteristics enable couples to achieve gender equitable co-parenting? Co-parenting concept itself might not touch on gender equality, but I'm adding it. So let me talk about the findings here. The first one, it seems men who took parental leave and were involved in childcare alone are better able to engage in childcare on an equal footing with their wives. So parental leave is one. The second, couples who communicate verbally tend to engage in childcare in the gender equitable manner. So the second thing is the effective communication. Okay. Just a quick note, in Japan's childcare leave or parental leave, it's been increasing recently, and in 2023, about 30% of the employees who are working for private companies received or used parental leave. So the number has been increasing, but it's a relatively recent phenomenon. So let's take a look at what would be the equitable co-parenting. First, please remember the names of these two guys. First, the Shinji in his late 40s said, it's more like a team. So, we asked, how do you describe you and your partner as a team? And this is his answer, Shinji's answer. It's more like a team of members who can independently take initiative and act on their own. It's not like one person is the leader. Okay. Another by Makoto says, well, we read something in a book or magazine about how certain relationship patterns work well for couples. And we both thought, that's us. It described us as the comrades in arms type. We really are comrades. So it's like the buddies in the war. And I identified like co-parenting on an equal footing when they described the relationship is pretty much like equal. So those couples tend to describe themselves as comrades, a passionate and warm team, or captain and vice captain. The other one, which is more unequal, this. Kenta talked about broccoli and how wives prepare broccoli for him so he can give that to the child. Let's take a look at it. I wanted to be able to do what she was doing, figuring things out as we went, researching, building up our routine, but I just couldn't quite keep up. Once she made everything and did all the prep work, she'd portion it out into single meals and freeze them. I could handle thawing them, seasoning them, and handing them over, but the prep work itself was a whole different ballgame. Things like what kinds of vegetables to use, what to feed them, what order to feed them in, to understand allergies and such. I kept working, while she took childcare leave and used that time to research these things and jot them down in notebooks. So the amount of information she had was completely different. So in this kind of relationship, wife is more skilled and is more knowledgeable, so she takes the lead. So it's a little bit unequal. And as you can see, he's talking about the importance of parental leave. He kept working, so he couldn't catch up with the knowledge and skills that his wife had. This is a good example, so we want to spend a little bit of time to read. Akira, in his early 30s, talked about really good relationship with his wife. I was able to take paternity leave too for about a month. Neither of us knew anything, right? Reading stuff was helpful, but you never know if it applies to your own kid. So just the two of us figuring things out together, like, oh, so this is what happens in this situation, or when she cries like this, she's probably sleepy. That trial and error process together was important. If we hadn't had that experience, we probably wouldn't have known how to handle things with the baby. Skipping the black part and then taking paternity leave at that timing, spending time with the baby together and gradually getting a feel for their expressions and rhythms, that experience still lives on for me today. And I ask, that's amazing. That 1 month is really that important, huh? And he said, I think it's important. Ultimately, if it becomes a situation where only one parent understands the child, the balance of childcare tends to become uneven. So reading this transcription, I was wondered what the two guys in the previous slides did for parental leave. So I looked up and Shinji said he worked 2 days a week and then 5 days off for he did it when the child was around like 8 or 9 months. He used his paid leave to do that. He said taking a parental leave was too much for him. Like, he has to teach everything to another person. So he didn't want to do that. But if he can go to work 2 days a week, then, he covers a lot. So that's what he did. Makoto took 1 month of childcare leave starting from the day the child was born. So these guys all took parental leave. Quickly continued from the previous slides, Akira said, he can do the basics. And I asked, there's nothing you are not confident with? Not at all. For example, even if my wife says I have to go out all day Saturday, I can say, go ahead. That's totally fine. So the fact that mom can say that means she trusts you to handle it, right? Then he said, yeah, we talk things over back and forth, have our little strategy meetings. Nothing too fancy though. From the talks, he talked a lot about their communication styles. They talk verbally about what's going on in his workplace, how she feels about taking a leave and taking care of a child. So effective communication, verbal communication was there. And it seems that's one of the factors that makes co-parenting more successful or making it more on equal footing. Here's a quick data. If you look at the guys who took parental leave, this is the 2019 data. But in Japan, if you're working for private companies, over half of them who took parental leave were 5 days or fewer, and about 75% are 2 weeks or less. So taking a 1 month of parental leave seems to be quite long. So here's the discussion. It seems, based on my qualitative research, some couples practiced co-parenting at an equal level even without taking childcare leave. So childcare leave is not like a necessary condition, but it seems to be more like a sufficient condition. So examples include couples who had established a cooperative household system before their first child was born. So these couples were doing very well in the prenatal interviews, and those husbands may not need to take parental leave to continue that more gender equal co-parenting after the child was born. The second one was couples where the husband showed sudden growth. If you remember, one person was talking about my partner is like a captain and then the vice captain. Wife said, I think, the husband used to be a member. I am the captain and he was the member. But when she taught how to do housework and childcare, he learned quickly and mastered it, and he can practice really well. Now he's promoted to a vice captain. So that kind of like a quick learning is one. And lastly, the couples who found themselves in situations where husbands couldn't rely on their wives. Some of the wives were sick after the birth and they were hospitalized. When I look at these husbands, they are pretty capable of doing the work, and their relationship seems to be more equal. Okay, and couples where the husbands took a longer period of childcare leave by the Japanese standards didn't appear to practice unequal co-parenting, such as the husband waiting for the wife's instructions. Okay, so time is coming, so if you can take a look at those, that would be good. But let me take a look at the approach that we should take. Since I'm a sociologist, my focus is more on a social structure. Michael Messner talks about those levels, the macro level to micro level focuses. He talked about we have to focus on culture, social structure, and then the interactions in personal levels. So to further or to advance my research, I will have to look at masculinities and femininities, parental leave policies in Japan, workplace culture and policies, and also how spouses communicate with each other. Lastly, let me briefly talk about limitations of the research or at the current stage. I cannot really talk about causal relationship now. I don't know if those husbands are very good husbands from the beginning. That's why they take parental leave, or by taking parental leave, they become more equitable couple. So I will have to look up more closely at the prenatal interviews and see what kind of transitions they were having over time. And if I can take a look can introduce a little bit more. There's a book about cross-cultural communication, and then she talks about low context and high context people's cross-cultural communications. And then Erin Maya said, two people from the high context, like, read the air type of communication are the worst one or cause the most misunderstanding because they do not verbally communicate. Like you understand me, I supposed to read the air and understand you. It's the culture. So and she says, if the wives and husbands, I would argue that wives and husbands may from very different cultures when they have a baby, and one is working and one is stay home. So my suggestion, and from the Erin's suggestion, is in cross-cultural communication, we have to convey messages verbally. Assuming that the other will understand you is not gonna happen and may not be helpful. Hi, so time is up, so thank you.
May I just thank Daisuke for your very interesting presentation, and I think that you brought me from the different culture important information, and this transformative experiences, I think that's however something which can be universal in different countries, that especially men need that kind of experiences to develop in co-parenting. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe we continue with the next presentation. Now Marjatta Kekkonen will speak about discourses of co-parenting support in family center services.
Yes, just a moment. I share my presentation.
Thank you. And I will
Is
share
it
this
fine?
presentation in Japanese in the chat at the same time.
Yes, so it was really interesting to hear this presentation. I continue with co-parenting support. So good morning, good afternoon to everyone online. My name is Marjatta Kekkonen, and I work as a senior researcher in the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare. And I have been, or the Institute has been a partner in this COPA Learning to Co-Parent project. And I'm pleased to present you results and findings of the sub-research, which is based on the article which is under the review at the moment. Okay, so now we are not going forward. Let's see. So earlier, co-parenting, first of all, so just a moment. So co-parenting support and interventions. Co-parenting, as we have heard, refers to a triadic relationship between parents and a child. They care and share together. And research about co-parenting support has mainly by this far been conducted mostly among kind of targeted groups like multi-generational families, fragile families, post-divorce parents, or teenage parents. There has also been developed several interventions to help parents to cooperate, like family foundation or Lawson trilogic play. But for example, McHale and his colleague, they call for more systematic approach for co-parenting support. And he suggests that with parents, every professional should discuss the themes like engagement, teamwork, parental conflict, and the perspective of the child. And I will shortly come back to these findings or these observations later on in this research. We also know, as has been mentioned already, that co-parenting relates to gender and to the gender ideologies which are present in the wider societal context, including family policies and gender ideologies in society. In services, however, even though in Finland gender equality is the dominant idea in sharing responsibilities of parenthood, so in services, parenthood support equals in practice still working with mothers. There is a slow change going on in terms of this, but mainly the working takes place with mothers. However, research shows positive effects when fathers are included, for example, in neonatal teams or in postnatal visits or in post-divorce discussions about the custody of the child. So it has been concluded that a need for a stronger inclusion of fathers in clinical work and in supportive interventions is needed to promote co-parenting. This research takes place in Finland, as Kaisa mentioned in the beginning, and it takes place particularly in the Finnish family centers, which is an integrated kind of a multidisciplinary service hub or service network, and it provides services for all families, not only for the very targeted groups, but all families. And what's remarkable is that it includes both preventive and early support services like maternity and child healthcare clinics, social services, family guidance and counseling, preventive child welfare services, and kind of open places, meeting places for families. And as we were starting this research, we were thinking that it would be interesting and valuable to get kind of knowledge about how in these preventive services co-parenting is supported. And by that way, we posed the research question, how can professionals support co-parenting in preventive and early support child and family services in the context of family centers? And by that way, we hope to answer or fill the gap of this prevention, the preventive actions in terms of co-parenting support. This is a qualitative study, and the data consists of 5 semi-structured focus groups interviews in which up to 21 professionals participated. And these professionals, as I said, were working in family centers in different parts of the Finland. These focus groups were conducted by 2 researchers via Microsoft Teams video calls because it was the COVID years and we couldn't have face-to-face interviews. These interviews were, in this research, we took 2 teams from the interview schedule. First of all, we were interested in what way professionals talk about co-parenting, and another approach on other team was how do they describe to support families in co-parenting. It is also notable to realize that by the time we were doing this these interviews, professionals were not really aware of the term co-parenting, yhteisvanhemmuus in Finnish, but they talk about cooperation of parents, collaboration of parents, teamwork of parents, and so on. And that was the way they answered to our questions, because we were starting from the start, if I say so. So it is also maybe good to notice that in Finland, the term co-parenting, a little bit modified, is mostly used among those targeted groups, and particularly among the divorced parents, but kind of more seldom among other parents and other families. Well, these focus groups were taped, audio taped, transcribed, and data was anonymized. As we were thinking about how to approach or which could be the best way to answer to this research question, we chose discourse analysis. And we think that co-parenting support in services takes place through discourses in which, or in the talk in which language itself functions as a tool for social practice, a kind of way of doing things. So saying things is doing things. And the kind of specific ways professionals talk, use language, and discuss with parents play kind of a central role when we talk about supporting co-parenting during the service appointments. So this discourse is also referred as an established language used based on a particular tradition, on a certain field or an environment. And in this context, this traditional field is social and healthcare services. There is a particular way of professional talk, and this talk about co-parenting is kind of a sub-discourse in this field. We were able to distinguish or identify 3 discourses of co-parenting support: the discourse of co-parenting involvement, discourse of capacity building of co-parenting, and discourse around co-parenting reconciliation. The main elements in building these or in identifying these discourses were, first of all, the identification of professional position, and the identification of agency of parent. And it's good to notice that all these identifications are based on the constructions of professionals themselves. So there was this, in the first discourse, professional position was a communicator, and the agency of parents constructed by the professional was kind of an engaged versus withdrawn parent. In the second discourse, concerning about the capacity building, professional position themselves as an intervener, as an helper and a guider, and the agency of parents was constructed as capable versus kind of incapable or in need of special support. And in the third one, the professional position was the supervisor, and agency of parent was able versus unable, kind of in terms of child's rights and best. So then I will go in more detail, a little bit more detail in each discourse. So discourse of co-parenting involvement, as I said, consists of positions of professionals, the ones who invite, encourage, and engage parents to participate. Parents are mostly seen as active and engaged and motivated in their co-parenting roles, both mothers and fathers, or they often talk about parent in a neutral way. However, in this discourse, fathers were named as occasionally seen as passive and helpless and in need for a tailored professional help and filtered knowledge. So in a way, the main function of this discourse was to promote both parents to engage in joint expectancy of the child and shared caring of the child. And in different kind of ways, by talking to parents, professional did this work. In the discourse of capacity building, on the other hand, capacity building of co-parenting, on the other hand, positions of professional were constructed as an intervener, counselor, guider, advisor, or a promoter of co-parenting. Also in this discourse, parents were mostly, or most parents were seen as very capable and to discuss and agree on mutual cooperation, share of time, domestic work, and childcare. In other words, the dimensions of aspects of the co-parenting. But also in this discourse, it was evident that fathers were seen as incapable or in need for a very tight guidance to take responsibility about joint care of the child, kind of helpless as well, could be said. So the main function of this discourse was to help parents to share the ideas, needs, and concerns in terms of co-parenting and relationship, and also to find kind of mutual solutions and solutions for possible tensions or disagreements. But so this was capacity building of parenting, of parents. The third discourse differed quite much from the two first ones, as it was built around the reconciliation of co-parenting. In this discourse, it was very characteristics that professionals positioned themselves as, first of all, quite impartial. They kind of stressed the impartial role, a neutral mediator role, and also the supervisor, the controller towards parents. Parents were constructed as the ones who have equal right to participate in their child's life, and particularly the father's rights was emphasized. And parents were seen to need help in establishing a safe and caring relationship with the child. And this kind of discourse is explained by the context of the discourse, in what kind of context the discourse took place, because the main function of this discourse was to support child's rights and child's best in the context of conflict of distressed, divorced, or quarrelsome co-parents. So it was already conflicted, the situation, and in most cases, parents were divorced. It is notable that in this course, child's rights perspective was very strongly present. So in our mind, or as based on these findings, we think that this study highlights the primary services, that primary services can provide support to co-parenting early on and timely by using different kind of discourses of involvement, capacity building, and reconciliation during the routine regular appointments. So we want to bring up to discussion of co-parenting support that it's not always necessary to build a separate intervention program to help parents to cooperate, but it's possible to do if the professionals are aware of the co-parenting issues and the contents of, and bring up them actively in during the appointments. This study supports also the notion of McHale and colleagues about the need to improve involvement of fathers, but also other co-parents in co-parenting. And the themes of these discourses are quite in line with McHale's themes of co-parenting, engagement, and so on. Inclusion of child perspective in all discourses, not only in this reconciliation discourse, enables professionals to support a triadic co-parenting family system from the pregnancy to potential conflicted family situation. And also this is important to see as a preventive and early support to families. However, it is very important to keep in mind that successful implementation of innovative approaches, such as professional discourses around co-parenting, calls for an active dialogue with frontline professionals. So by that we mean that we cannot, even though we have found this kind of results, it's important to discuss and develop the right way to approach the professional practices together with professionals themselves. They know best their work and how it's good to implement them in practice. And practical implications, or as based on these findings, we suggest 5 practical implications. And first of all, we think that it's time to change the way of thinking that co-parenting is, the support for co-parenting is needed only for divorced parents, for example, but instead that the need for support is present for all families, and the best way to reach them is through universal family services. In Finland, they are gathered in the family centers. So universal support to all families in terms of co-parenting. As said already before, involvement of fathers is important, and active actions are needed, and father-friendly service environments are needed to do this possible for fathers. But also in this research, the kind of mapping or gathering together the whole co-parenting team, including these grandparents, relatives, perhaps neighbors, and so other important adults, is important if we want to support the family together. And when professionals are aware of co-parenting dimensions and aspects, the content, so they are able to bring up to discussion co-parenting issues with parents, and by that way help them to realize that now we are struggling, for example, with some kind of issue concerning agreement about how we want to raise our child. And finally, of course, the targeted support is needed, and the support is needed to co-design together with parents the way that it supports parents, but first of all, that it safeguards the rights and bests of the child. I thank you for your attention. I'm pleased to answer to any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marjatta Kekkonen.
May I again ask, or I was thinking that I would like to hear from Chino or Daisuke, maybe something about, or somebody else from Japan, what kind of ideas family workers have when they work with families. Is this co-parenting idea familiar or less familiar?
Thank you very much for such questions. Actually, we should ask to the professionals of the family center, or it means the in Japan, the public healthcare center, some healthcare nurse support new families. However, it is I think that we can find some diverse of such ideas. So in some municipalities, healthcare nurse have such advanced, a kind of advanced modern idea. However, in the, for example, especially rural area or other places, still they focus on the healthcare nurse, public health nurse, focus on the mother's role. And the most of us feel that it is difficult or hard to promote father's participation in parenting. So, Daisuke, if you have any idea, please add.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there may be some disconnect between the research and then the practice. But I guess it's always there. And it seems like academic presentations or articles are too difficult. I mean, they use very difficult languages, difficult expressions, and it's not easy enough for even for like lay people to read. And I think that's the challenge that we have. So the symposium of this kind is probably very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the question.
Can I
And,
add one thing?
Yes.
Yeah. So our ministry of MH, sorry, the Health, Welfare and Labor, they show the new catchword, tomoiku, and it means co-parenting, and started to promote the togetherness of parent to parenting and raising children, so that the situation will be changed, and we can expect.
So this is actually a very topical question. But now it's good to have a small break before the next presentation. So let's get up and have some stretching. Maybe you get some coffee or tea, and let's come back here 20 minutes to 6 in Japan, 20 to 12 in Finland, and 20 to 10 in Portugal.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you very much.